Hello, I'm Bonnie Rabakoff, producer and host of In the Kitchen with Bonnie. Each week we visit in the kitchen of one of Kansas City's many celebrated chefs to show their artistry in the kitchen, talk with them about their journey to this profession. We have had the very good fortune of being in the kitchen at Lidia's, and today for a special feature we're going to chat with Lidia Bastianich herself. Lydia, thank you for inviting us into your kitchen.
Buongiorno, benvenuta.
I know buongiorno is the other one I'm not as familiar with. Lydia, you've had a very impressive journey and you've overcome some challenges that other chefs haven't. Coming from Italy, tell us about your time there and your journey to America.
Well, Bonnie, let me just set it up sort of.
Okay.
I come from an area that was Italy. It's Istria.
Okay.
And after World War II, as the spoils of war, that area was given to the newly formed Yugoslavia. Yugoslavia was communist.
Yes.
The Iron Curtain went up, and we were caught behind the Iron Curtain right on the border of Italy, by Trieste.
What year was this? 1940?
48, 47, 48,
Okay.
into the 50s.
Okay.
I was just born around that time.
Yes.
And of course, we got caught behind it. So for a few years, my parents remained there, but of course, we were ethnic Italians. Under communism, you couldn't go to church, you couldn't speak Italian. And ultimately, in 1956, they planned almost an escape back to Italy. My mother, my brother, and I were allowed to leave. They wouldn't leave the whole family. And my father escaped the border at night. We all met in Trieste, where we had relatives, because that's the other
Sure.
side of the border.
Yes.
And we stayed with them for a while. I guess my parents tried to settle in, but it was difficult to find jobs. And we ultimately ended up in a political refugee camp in Trieste.
Do you have a memory of this? Very
I do.
distinct.
Very distinct. I was 12. I was
You
from
do
10
have
to
a
12.
Oh,
yes,
you do.
at the time. And we stayed for 2 years there, awaiting a visa to a country, a free country that would ultimately take us. And in 1958, it was Dwight Eisenhower was the president. He approved the immigration of refugees fleeing from communism, and we fell into that category.
Thank goodness.
And we came to the United States in 1958.
So you had a vivid memory of this, and I know the role Catholic Charities and Catholic Relief played in getting you to America.
Right.
How were they helpful with this?
In every single way. I think that the Vatican and all its arms, the charity arms, were involved in taking care of us, feeding us, housing us while in Italy, and also the transportation and bringing us to the United States, and ultimately handing us over to the Catholic Charities and the Catholic Relief Fund here in the United States. And so you can imagine, a family, young family. We had
Yes.
nobody here. We
Displaced. You were displaced. Yes.
We came to New York. We had a social worker from the charities coming to greet us at the airport. Ultimately, they placed us in a hotel on 37th Street in New York, I remember, and began looking for a home for us, a job for my father, for my mother. And after 2 months, they did find a little home for us and a job for my father in New Jersey. And our life began in America as Americans.
So you have those memories of those early days when you were displaced, and of course the generosity and the caring of this organization, which I think has stayed with you. I mean, it shows on the plate and in your food, that generous spirit that is you.
Well, it's, it is, you can help it if even though I was young, I sensed the tremendous pressure and tension on my parents in bringing their children into the unknown, a world across the ocean. We had nobody here. And so all that was very much part, and it is part of who I am, and how that sensitivity of being ultimately helped. And if I think that I represent the American success story. So
You
from
do.
that displaced family and person into being very well placed in the American market today, it didn't happen by itself. We had help, and I appreciate that. And that's part of what I feel I need to do as well, to continue that caring and that helping along whenever an opportunity is there.
Your executive chef here in Kansas City, Dan Swinney, believes that is very much a part of what you do with your leadership. He has felt your support and your guidance as a chef. So for you to know that how you feel and how you have managed your staff is alive and well with them.
Well, I appreciate that because, one always questions, you come to this life and you're given different opportunities. And how was I shaped? What shaped me? I have to tell you a story,
Yes.
Bonnie. When we were in this hotel in New York, we would go weekly to the social worker at the charities. And they would, ask, okay, how are you doing? What you're doing? They would give us money to eat because my father wasn't working or whatever.
Yes.
And my mother was very frugal. She was so afraid, to spend the money. So our menu consisted of bananas because they were a specialty. We didn't have bananas back when I was milk and bread, Wonder Bread. So this was the main, and she would really. So when we went back,
She was afraid the money would go away, or
she was afraid that she was incurring this big loan debt that she would need to. How was she going to pay it back?
Yeah.
So, but the social worker, every time. So she would
Assured
come,
her.
we would come back, and she would show her. Listen, I didn't spend on the money. And the social worker said, "No, feed these children. Spend it."
Besides bananas, milk, and Wonder Bread.
Yes. And so this generosity of being given something without asking return kind of stayed with me, and I think I was blessed in many ways.
Oh, yes.
And if I have this blessing, I need to share it.
Well, we're very appreciative of what you've shared, but you've shared more than that. You have brought your culture to us through your food. I will tell you, I'd never eaten a frico until this is a very memorable experience.
That's Friuli.
That we knew Italian food for the most part as the Southern Sicilian, lots of red sauce. I never knew Italian food tasted like this until you came to Kansas City.
When I came and I started to cook, I cooked the food that we ate. So I cooked very much regional food, and I think that maybe I was one of the first ones, and I cooked the food.
You were the first one here. I mean, I had never known that type of Italian cooking food until you.
Bonnie, what's so special, I think, this connection that you say that I have, that I bring to America, is that I was blessed with, I think because I feel very American, I came here at 12, with two of the greatest cultures in the world, the American culture and the Italian culture.
Having been to Italy, I might agree with you. It's one of my favorite countries.
And I think that it's
So loving and warm
my desire, my want to bring my two cultures together, and I do it with food.
Yes, well, that's near and dear to our hearts is food, and it couldn't be a more touching and poignant way to do it. Now, I understand you have thanked the Catholic Church in a very specific way. Did you not cook for the Pope? I mean, how else do you say thank you but cook for the Pope? What did you cook? We need to know what you prepared.
I'm involved as much as I can in giving back in the Catholic organizations, when Pope Benedict, I think 2 years ago, came to the United States, I was asked to cook for him. And to tell you the truth, Bonnie, when I first asked him, I says, is this real?
What
and
did we have to know what you made.
Absolutely.
It wasn't frico, I take it.
No,
okay.
No, the first meal was where he had all the cardinals, and it was a Friday, so I made a whole roasted fish. But Pope Benedict is German, of course, and his mother was a chef, so I did a little research. I wanted to to kind of, first of all, make him come, because food does all kinds of things.
Yes, it does.
Gives love, it heals, and whatever.
Yep.
I wanted to sort of heal him from his travels in a way, so I made him a great capon soup with agnolini.
I'm well already.
Then I made the cacio e pepe ravioli, the ravioli with some cheese, and then we've made a big stribes. The stribes was running beautiful, and that was the first night. But then the second night, it was actually his birthday and an anniversary of his papacy. Okay. So we really, I made goulash, because that's German.
He's German.
With spetzels. I made apple strudel, and the Bastianich wines, and we had a real good time. And you know that he even, so when I was serving him, and at the end we brought this big birthday cake, and we put it in front of him,
yes,
and we gave him a knife. So I was right behind him, and his knife, I didn't know what to do. So I took his hand, and we cut the cake.
Together!
Yeah, like a wedding. And he looked at me with such a smile, because
an appreciation.
I'm comfortable. I open up. I kind of relate to this man in a way. And he looked at me and I said, "Did you enjoy?" And he said to me, "These were my mother's flavors." I knew I did it.
You did it. You arrived.
Yeah.
So, what do you want to accomplish with your food, with your diners? What do you want them to experience when they are at Lidia's?
Well, I want them to feel at home. I want them to be happy, enjoy, to be satiated. I want them to get a taste of Italy. I want them to sense my care and my passion in the food. I want all of that for them.
You've succeeded, Lidia. You've succeeded. That's wonderful. Well, I want to thank you for taking time to visit with us, for bringing such a fabulous restaurant to Kansas City, for being a pioneer in the Freight House District and the Arts Center. You've been all of that to us. We're grateful that Catholic Charities and Catholic Relief provided you an opportunity to come to our country.
Yes, they did. They were at the escorts that got me to this great country.
Well, you've done a great job since you've arrived. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Debbie.
Hello, I'm Bonnie Rabikoff, and this week we are at Lidia's in the kitchen with their executive chef, Dan Sweeney. Dan, thank you for inviting us into your kitchen.
Thank you for inviting me to be on the show.
Well, obviously it is our pleasure. This is one of Kansas City's treasures and traditions for Italian food. Let's talk a little bit about your personal journey to chefdom.
In my late 20s, I decided to take the plunge and actually get some formal training.
How about that?
So,
where did you do that?
I did that here in Kansas City. I went to a 3-year apprenticeship sponsored by the American Culinary Federation. And I did my apprenticeship with Hyatt Regency right here in the neighborhood.
Good. So on-the-job training in addition to the formal training.
Right. So that was, the hotels were, I think, good training, because we got exposed to a lot of different techniques and some really great chefs as well. Charlene Welling with the Classic Cup.
Another Kansas City tradition, and I remember you from the Classic Cup. So you went from a large hotel environment to a locally owned restaurant.
Right, and
wow.
It was quite a transformation,
sure,
because I was used to working with a team of up to 100 cooks, and in 4 different outlets, and so we then went to a kitchen where I had 2 cooks and myself, and.
But maybe an opportunity for more creativity,
sure,
and interpersonal, those interconnections that happen in a smaller setting.
Sure. And then my next important position was here at Lidia's restaurant, and I've been here since the opening of the restaurant in 1998.
Well, Dan, you're a fixture here, just like the beautiful glass chandeliers. You're part of it. You've been here from the time it is opened to today, and that speaks well of Lidia, as it does for you.
I was living in Portland, Oregon, working at a really good Italian restaurant there, and kind of immersing myself into the culture. And I would go to the library every day and check out books on Italian food.
So
different chefs.
you were connected to this culture and the foods early on.
Early on, it's
Yes.
always been my favorite cuisine. The simplicity of it and the care taken in the selection of the ingredients. And so one of the books that I came across during that year was Lydia's first book, and so I had been following her career for some time before I actually learned that she was going to come here and open a restaurant.
So you felt connected to her early on, to the culture, and specifically to Lydia. And when you learned she was coming here, you were there, and smart
Actually,
move on your part to...
The way that we met was I volunteered to help her with an event at the American restaurant, the Chef's Classic, where she cooked, I think it might have been the first year. And so anyway, I don't think she trusted me at first, but
She grew to. You earned that.
But over time, yeah, I think she did. So
You earned that. All right, I remember you from the Classic Cup days, and also remember your devotion to working with local, organic, sustainable, having a personal relationship with the growers, and you were one of the pioneers in this community to do that with the restaurants. I'd like to talk about that.
some of my earliest really good food memories were my grandparents had a dairy farm in southern Missouri, and so I grew up in the suburbs, and I didn't really have that connection to...
A lot of concrete.
Yeah, you know, my connection to food was through the supermarket.
Sure.
And so when I would go to visit them, you know, they were pretty much self-sustaining people. They had a huge garden, you know, and they canned things, and so I was really fascinated by that.
So let's talk about Lydia's. Always connected to Italian cooking, devoted to Lydia for many years before you even began working here. What is it you want to accomplish specifically in this restaurant? What experience do you want your diners to have while they're here?
Well, I've always strived to try to be, you know, one of the best Italian restaurants in the city.
What keeps you inspired? I mean, we know being in the kitchen is hot. It's hard work. The pots and pans are heavy. What keeps that energy and that quest for excellence?
You know, in a lot of ways, I think chefs don't really choose their career. Their career chooses them, you know. I think a lot of us, you know, just kind of born to do this.
It just almost feels innate for you.
It's, I think it's what I was meant to do.
We're going to go into the kitchen. What are we going to make? Which of your signature dishes are we going to make?
Butternut squash ravioli with sage brown butter and almonds, and gnocchi, which are potato dumplings, handmade with marinara sauce and fresh mozzarella and basil. And the third pasta is fettuccine with shrimps and scallion sauce.
Chef, I think we should go into the kitchen and do that. Why don't you come with us? Hello, I'm Bonnie Rabikoff, and this week we are in the kitchen at Lydia's with their executive chef, Dan Sweeney. We're about to make a signature pasta trio. Dan, tell us what we're cooking today.
Okay, we're going to cook the gnocchi with marinara sauce, basil, and mozzarella. Butternut squash ravioli with sage brown butter and almonds, our most requested pasta of all
It
time.
is.
And fettuccine with a sauce of scallions and shrimps.
So what do we begin with? The sauces?
First, we're going to start with the sauces.
Okay.
First, I'll demonstrate to you just how to make a simple marinara sauce.
So extra virgin olive oil.
I preheated the
Smell
pot.
that. An
and
important piece is to get the pan hot first. Okay.
I think that's very important.
Okay.
And then we scatter some sliced garlic on the bottom
That's
of the pan.
serious garlic, yes.
And then we're going to let this brown for a little bit.
Okay.
And over here are San Marzano tomatoes. The type of tomatoes are very important. They're imported from Italy. They're a special variety. We're going to toast the garlic until it just starts to brown on the edges. This is a very simple sauce, and it's
Which is why it's so good.
and it's also the base for about 10 of the other sauces that we make here.
The garlic has sauteed in a little bit, getting kind of toasty, and in go the tomatoes. And you keep crushing them, or they
They come whole.
come on and you just kind of crush them with your hands.
Exactly. And So I put in 2 ladles of tomatoes and just half a ladle of pasta water. We use pasta water all day long to adjust the consistency of the sauces or the pasta, and it's a mainstay of Italian cooking. The water's right there. It's got the starch in it. Why not use it? If there's one important thing I can tell you about cooking pasta, it's having the right amount of salt in the water.
All right, and so, I'm told it's a surprising amount.
It is a pretty large amount. Okay, so this is probably a 5-gallon tank, and I have about 2 cups here. So I think that would probably equate to about 3 tablespoons per gallon.
Per gallon.
Of pasta water if you were cooking at home. Okay. So I'm just going to move this over here to another burner. The marinara sauce only cooks for about 20 minutes.
That was extra virgin olive oil, garlic, and some crushed tomatoes.
Right. So we're going to season just a little bit more with some coarse salt.
So you're adding salt.
In addition to the salt, it's just a little bit of crushed red pepper.
Adding a bit of heat.
Yeah.
Okay.
The marinara is cooking, so now we're going to make the sage brown butter for the ravioli. Now the butternut squash raviolis, like I said, they're our most popular, most requested pasta of all time. People request the pasta all year long, but we really only serve it in the fall and early winter. So.
Because that's when the butternut squash is here.
Good and available.
Makes sense,
right.
yes.
So, but in the filling is the roasted squash and a few other things, but these are 2 ingredients that really make the filling special. And this one is amaretti cookie.
Which we would have no idea you would do that, yes.
And this is mostardo di Cremona, and it's a condiment. It's fruits in a mustard sauce. When I say brown butter, I mean actually brown it. It's the caramelized.
So is this unsalted butter?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is, because we want to add the seasoning.
Yeah, so,
yes.
So we're actually going to brown the butter. And the reason that we do that is because there are milk solids in the butter that caramelize, and it gives it a caramelly flavor, and which really goes well with the squash.
And I'm told you have to watch it because the line from browning to burning is fine. Okay.
Yes, of course.
You added some zucchini.
Right. Okay.
So we're cooking the zucchini and browning the butter at the same time.
At the same time.
Do we salt and pepper or not just yet?
Some sauces we do, but most of them we don't. And this goes back to what I was saying about the salt in the water.
Yes.
If you have the salt in the water and the pasta is seasoned correctly, then you don't really need to do a lot of additional salt.
Salt in it. Sometimes we over-season because we think we need to season each and every component. We need to think of it as the part of the whole.
Well, I think, the sauces, the components like this will have salt in it, the marinara sauce. And we'll put a little bit of salt in here. And we're going to use pasta water for the third sauce, and it's already salted.
And that's
the most important thing I can tell you about cooking pasta is the salt.
The salt, because it infuses that flavor into the pasta while it's cooking, and that is its opportunity.
Yeah, it gets into. If you don't get it inside of the pasta, you'll never.
You never will afterward, right? Now we see brown.
So now you can see how it's starting to brown.
Yes.
It usually starts around the edges. Okay. So now I'm going to add just a little bit of chicken stock.
And I'm seeing this more and more with our chefs. They said to do flavor, you don't need to keep adding fat. You can also use other liquids, such as pasta water and stock. Third sauce, extra virgin olive oil, more garlic.
This is a very simple sauce of scallions. And also the secret ingredient here is Tuscan peppers or pepperoncini peppers, all right?
Okay.
So, again, we're going to toast the garlic until it's a little bit brown.
Okay.
And I'm going to reach over here and get some pasta water. Once the garlic gets to the point where you want it, then you just add the liquid and it stops the browning.
Okay. And it stops the browning as soon as you've added the liquid. And then you're putting in the peppers. Again, tell us what those peppers are.
Lidia calls them Tuscan peppers, but they're also known as pepperoncini. So Tuscan hot peppers is what you're
Tuscan hot peppers. Okay. And this isn't like a jalapeno that blows your head off, but it does have some kick.
Just mildly.
Mild. Okay. And in go the shrimp. They've been peeled and deveined.
And these are delicate little shrimps, and they don't really even need sauteed. We just cook them right in the sauce.
We know there's a danger in overcooking shrimp because they get tough, so we won't do that.
To avoid that, essentially we're poaching them. The pastas cook at different times, all right? The raviolis take about maybe 4 minutes. So
We need to be mindful not to overcook our pasta. Into the salted water.
after the shrimps are poached here, they add the scallions so that they'll stay nice and bright.
And the flavor will still have its bite to it. So now you're adding the green onions to it.
Almost all of our pastas, well actually all of them, are finished in some way with butter or olive oil. And that's right as before the pasta goes out. And that's part of what makes it very silky and shiny. When you heat oil or fat, it begins to lose its flavor somewhat. So you put it in and it's raw state at the end, it has a lot more flavor.
Got that.
Okay,
So you're adding the herbs.
I'm going to add
at the
sage.
end.
I'm going to add sage here and let that cook and infuse into the sauce. I'm going to add butter to the shrimp pasta. You see how it's cooked a little bit dry? So where do we go? We go right here to the pasta water and rehydrate the sauce. Same with the squash sauce here, the
Yes.
sauce for the squash ravioli. Got a little dry. It started to break.
So just pay attention.
Just reach for the ladle.
Yes.
Everything about cooking pasta, at least in the restaurant, is constant adjustment. You know?
And it varies from dish to dish and day to day, depending upon how hot the kitchen is or how much moisture is in the air. Or
Yeah, the shape of the pasta with the sauce.
Sure.
You know, some shapes of pasta drink a lot more sauce than others.
It's just
It's
you
not
learn
a-
by doing.
It's not for the person that likes an exact science.
Be courageous when we go into cook Italian, but the rewards. And gnocchi, can you?
Gnocchi.
Yeah.
So these are the potato dumplings that we make here in the restaurant every day. I par cook these, but you can cook them from frozen if you want to. But if you're making gnocchi at home, once they're made, they have to be either used or frozen right away because they don't
keep well.
They don't keep well at room temperature or in the refrigerator.
And so you're using potato and flour, and is there
Potato,
egg?
flour, eggs, a little bit of cheese, nutmeg, and white pepper. Our pastas are all cooked.
Now tell me how you know this other than throwing it against the wall. Or I did that once for my son because I wanted to be so entertaining.
I'm looking for tender pasta. There are different pastas used for different things.
Yes.
Raviolis, you want the most tender pasta of all. It has a succulent filling. You don't want to bite a lot of pasta. Fettuccine, on the other hand, it can be a little more al dente, but our fresh fettuccine is not really al dente like dry pasta would be. So that's what I'm looking for. So.
And for those of us who don't saute like that, a spatula or a large spoon is perfectly acceptable.
Of course.
The fettuccine, because it was fresh, just took a few minutes.
Just about a minute. And like I said, we finish this with more olive oil.
Olive oil. And last, our gnocchi and marinara. 3 exquisite pastas. I'm going to finish that with a little extra virgin olive oil. Again, at the end.
Fresh mozzarella scattered over the top.
And some fresh basil, and you're blessed to have your own herb garden just outside, but easy enough to get at a grocery store or farmer's market.
Sure, but there's nothing like fresh basil, right?
There's nothing like fresh basil. Okay, Chef, we eat with our eyes first. How are we going to plate this pasta trio?
When we design the pasta trio menu, we're looking for a nice balance of colors and textures and flavors and seasonal ingredients.
So the gnocchi with the marinara and the fresh basil and mozzarella. Beautiful colors. This is a little party right here. We get to attend. Shrimp and all. This is art. This is your canvas. And you're the artist. Signature dish. Chef, this is a work of art. Thank you. We're going to go up and pair this with some wine, and then we have a celebrity taster coming to the restaurant to give his reaction to the work and the wine.
Great.
Thank you for inviting us into your kitchen.
Thank you so much.
Hello, I'm Bonnie Rabikoff. We have just been in the kitchen with the executive chef Dan Sweeney at Lidia's preparing a signature pasta trio. Now, what to drink? To answer that question, I'm going to be talking to the director of operations, Jason Connor. Jason, what do you recommend?
Hello. Well, the pasta trio can be a little bit tricky because you have 3 different pastas and 3 different sauces. But I always like to go back to the basic facts of there's nothing better to eat, to drink with Bastianich cuisine than wine from the Bastianich family.
How about that?
Well, it's traditional
Yes, of course
in
it
regional
is.
cooking to have the
Yes.
regional wine. So today I've chosen the Bastianich Friuliano. This is a grape, Tokai grape, they're now calling Friuliano, which is indigenous to Friuli, where Lidia is from.
Yes.
And this wine has hints of pear and a little bit of underlying tones of almond. And with the butternut squash ravioli, there was a little bit of almond, there's a
was?
little bit of butter. This has just, it's 100% steel, but has just enough malolactic fermentation to give it a medium body that is enough to really go well with all 3 of those pastas today.
Okay, now, are there some other options you'd like to suggest for us besides this one?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Staying with the Bastianich family, we have the Bastianich Rosato. This one is a rosé and is wonderful with tomatoes and strawberries and things like that. This would be wonderful with the marinara, especially from the gnocchi today. There's hints of rose and plum, and this is just a wonderful wine that we actually sell quite a bit of this Rosato.
Okay, so another option, and
Absolutely.
then perhaps another?
And then another, the Bastianich Sauvignon Blanc B. This one has a little bit more acidity, would be good with the scallion, and fine with the shrimp, and wonderful with the homemade pasta as well. But really 3 wonderful wines from the Bastianich family.
Okay, Jason, well now all that's left is for us to invite our celebrity taster in to taste the pasta trio and sample the wine.
Absolutely.
To do that, we have invited Crosby Kemper to be our celebrity taster. Hello, I'm Bonnie Rabikoff, and this week we are in the kitchen at Lidia's. We've been cooking with our executive chef, Dan Sweeney. We have prepared a ravioli with butternut squash, fettuccine with shrimp and scallions, and a gnocchi with a marinara sauce. It has been paired with one of Lidia's very own wines. It's a 2008 Friuliano to make sure that this dish is perfect as it looks, and the wine paired with it is good. We've invited a celebrity taster, Crosby Kemper III, and executive director of the Kansas City Library. Thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedule to perform this task.
I feel like I've died and gone to heaven, honey. To have lunch with you, to have lunch at Lidia's with a pasta trio with a nice Tuscan Tokai Friuliano wine.
Yes.
Wow, it
Okay.
couldn't be better. I've died and gone to heaven.
Okay, and you're in heaven.
I am in heaven.
And now in heaven, would you please do us the honor of tasting the signature dish?
Okay.
Of course, I'm going to taste it with you just to make sure.
Okay. Pasta trio.
Pasta trio, they're
Starting
famous
out
for
with
that.
with the ravioli. Here.
Oh,
Ooh, wow.
butternut squash, so it's the season.
That is so rich.
Oh my word.
It melts in your mouth. But what a taste. The butternut squash is like it's almost like candy. It's so rich.
This should
really
be dessert,
delicious.
right?
Yeah, this almost should be
dessert.
dessert. And it's really gorgeous. Which I'm a huge fan of Lidia's ravioli. When I die, if I go to heaven, and there's a big question there, but if I go to heaven,
This will be
I
there
think
waiting for you.
it'll be Lydia's, one of
Part of
Lydia's
heaven.
ravioli, or maybe a pasta trio that's all ravioli. Who knows?
It'll be waiting for you in heaven.
Oh my gosh, I hope so.
And Crosby, I think that's probably okay. Now the gnocchi.
Gnocchi. That's also melting in the mouth.
You know,
And I like their
fresh, local ingredients.
Is that mint?
That-
The mint
I think we have some, maybe, and we have some basil, and we have some fresh
basil.
mozzarella. I bet it's
and
basil.
mozzarella. And it's so that the fresh basil is
That gnocchi.
it's so good.
Chef and I had a ball in the kitchen doing this.
Absolutely, and this is a wonderful combination of a red sauce on the gnocchi and it's butter, the butter sauce on the ravioli, and then we've got some fettuccine with shrimp, which looks like maybe
she'd have a
olive
little
oil
bite of it.
primarily.
You know, I'm going to twirl this because I've been told that that's. Can you twirl? You can?
I twirled a little bit, but not as much or as well as you did.
I've been practicing.
You know, and that olive oil and butter. Wow. The whole thing. I'm gonna taste some of this Boccai Fuliano.
Right, so they've
Bastianic
selected a
wine.
white wine from Lydia's Vineyards in Italy. What do you think?
It's really good.
To your health
Oh, to your health, yes, thank you.
and to life.
To life.
Oh, it's tangier than what I would have expected.
Well, and I think that it's good because it really clears the palate. I mean, because it's so strong, and you've got three very different tastes here.
Yes.
You've got three different bases. I mean, the red sauce, the butter sauce, and the olive oil. So it's nice to clear everything.
And I think it still stands up to the flavors here, but obviously doesn't overpower them. I think we better take another bite of this.
Yeah, I'm going for the gnocchi here.
So, the library, you have a long history of loving education and history
Education, history, books,
and food.
and food. Exactly. There are a lot of foodies out there like you. There's nobody as professional a foodie as you are, Bonnie, but
I'm in good company.
There are a
Yes.
lot of us out there.
You know, and it's not whether you cook it, it's if you love it. If you love wonderful food and appreciate it, we are blessed
want to
in
know
Kansas.
how it's made. I mean, that's one of the great things that Lydia does with her TV program and her books. And she's obviously training a great generation of chefs like Dan to do this. I found the quality of the restaurant has just done nothing but improve over time. I think because she's paid such great attention to getting great people and spending time with them.
And aren't we fortunate in Kansas City to have the level of artistry, talent, the chefs that we enjoy in Kansas City are extraordinary.
Absolutely. Kansas City's always been a good food town. We've been
food town.
The basis of American and world agriculture is right here in Kansas City. The Board of Trade.
Talking about that earlier, and I just, I hadn't put it together.
We're the center of so much, and expanded to the world. Have sold to the world, with the stockyards and the Board of Trade, etc. So we've always been about food in Kansas City, but we've gotten better and better and better with our restaurants, with bringing the world to Kansas City, bringing Lydia to Kansas. The first place, I don't know if she's done any other restaurants now, but Lydia's is always one of the great Italian restaurants in New York. When I went to New York, I always wanted to go to Lydia's.
So you were familiar with it before you came to Kansas
I knew about
City.
Lydia before she came here. And in fact, when they announced that she was going to come here, I went the next day. I was in New York, and I went to Lydia's, and I wrote a little note to Lydia and said,
I'll be
I
there.
love your food and welcome to Kansas City. And she wrote me a nice note.
She's a pioneer. She's a pioneer in the Freight House District, the cornerstone here. So we're very fortunate to have Lydia, Chef Dan, and you for all the contributions you've made to learning in our community. I want to thank you, Cosby, for coming here today and taking time out
Bonnie,
to be
this
our
is great.
taster.
Wow, it's so delicious to be with you.
Thank you.